Welcome to a world where the government could predict your crime before it even happens. To a world where the police monitor your psyche levels and have the authority to execute you at the pull of a trigger. To a world controlled by the civil system. Welcome to Pyscho-Pass. Transport yourself to an authoritarian future dystopia where omnipresent public censors continuously scan the mental states of every passing citizen. Collected data on both present mentality and aggregated personality data is used to gauge the probability of that citizen committing a crime, the rating referred to as that citizen's Pyscho-Pass. Authorities are alerted whenever excessive ratings are detected, and officers of the Public Safety Bureau are dispatched with weapons called dominators, or energy pistols that modulate their power in response to the target's Pyscho-Pass. The energy pistol, aka the Dominator, portable psychological diagnosis and suppression system, has two modes, non-lethal paralyzer and lethal eliminator. The story follows Shinya Kogami and Akane Tsunemori, among other members of Unit 1 of the Public Safety Bureau's Criminal Investigation Division. The show has found an admirable fan base, mostly for its unique setup and narrative, as well as its over-the-top, gratuitous violence that the series has come to be known for. The 2 seasons and 1 movie each have their own story arc that follows Akane and her battle with a criminal that has discovered a new way to find some sort of loophole in the civil system. The violent nature of the show particularly interests me because I feel that the show would lose a lot of what makes it unique if it was stripped of its violence. It's a gritty, unrelenting, and savage world to live in, but it makes for great TV entertainment. Violence is a theme seen extensively in Japanese cinema, manga, and anime, but why is it so prominent? Does it serve as a potential hook or selling point to garner in a specific audience? This also brings the question of whether or not this extreme media is in fact art. When discussing the so-called Asia extreme, a perfect example to use in tandem with Pyscho-Pass is Takashi Miike's powerhouse horror film Audition. The story followed Aoyama, a recent widower who decides to find himself a new love interest through a phony movie audition. He comes across the beautifully deceptive Asami, who slowly reels in Aoyama before spiraling into insanity. Audition is infamous for its final 20 minutes, scenes in which depict child abuse, vomit ingestion, missing limbs, and torture to the bloody extreme. Peter Bradshaw raves Audition is the stomach-turning birth of J-horror. Ellis Mitchell of the New York Times in August of 2001 claims, Audition doesn't let you down, but bring a strong constitution. Like any audition, it's a test of nerve. The film is obsessed with violence, but critics like Chi Yoon Shin of The Art of Branding claim that it serves as a marketing technique for the now-defunct UK-based Tartan films, known for coining the term Asia Extreme. The film has surely reached cult status in other foreign countries, and Shin had noted this idea of Orientalism, which is a way of imagining the so-called other as strange and wild. On the side of marketing, reflecting their efforts to attract the young, particularly male, audiences, Tartan's publicity material stresses the subversive and explicit aspect of the titles. These titles do include a certain heart-stopping, gruesome scenes. Asia Extreme has become its own brand, and Tartan exploited the explicit to create an entire new audience. The Tartan DVD boxes for their films utilize striking images from the films and have been very successful in raising the profile of the label in the UK, and the US box cover designs clearly aim to achieve a similar effect. Using Audition as an example, the DVD box cover for the film displayed Asami with her iconic weapon of choice, the needle, with an 18+ mature audiences label at the bottom adjacent to reviews such as, "Will leave you cowering," and "remarkable, evocative, and disturbing." It's clever and extremely marketable. I guess in this instance it's good to judge a book by its cover. Ray Chow, writer of Film and Cultural Identity, also notices Tartan's extreme approach to be successful by commenting that film has always been, since its inception, a transcultural phenomenon, having as it does the capacity to transcend culture, to create modes of fascination which are readily accessible and which engage audiences in ways independent of their linguistic and cultural specificities. Asia Extreme sutures different cultures with its exploitation of explicit content, while also creating its own identity. Two of the most famous scenes from Audition which serve as the selling points of the movie include everything from needle torture to vomit ingestion. In the penultimate scene, Aoyama is poisoned and left temporarily paralyzed by Asami. He envisions unusual circumstances where he is faced with a mutilated, tongueless man who Asami has kept trapped in a bag. A few moments later, Asami feeds the man a bowl of her own vomit. Jump ahead to the final moments to where Asami slowly but painfully penetrates Aoyama's body with thin, sharp needles before slicing off one of his feet. Believe me, this sounds a lot nicer than its screen counterpart. However, there's something that's so exciting about it. Is it the idea that viewing this explicit content is deemed inappropriate by societal standards that's so enticing? Or is it even exciting to see something so brutally realistic in its depiction of violence? I strongly believe that Pyscho-Pass follows in the footsteps of Tartan Asian Extreme. Now, that's not to say that it's the only anime with a mature, violent narrative, because it's just not. But it does exactly what Audition set out to do, and did. It sells off of its violence and appeals to a wider audience outside of its country. I'm a prime example of that collective. Personally, anime isn't my cup of tea. I think the big hair, the overly melodramatic actions of the characters and the narrative, and just the overall look of Japanese animation are borderline ridiculous and cringeworthy. However, Pyscho-Pass opened the door to a different side of anime for me, a side that isn't afraid to tell a dark story. The violence is completely over-exaggerated, but that's due to the unlimited possibilities with animation. Susan Napier, writer of manga and anime, entertainment, big business, and art in Japan, perfectly explains the power behind Japanese animation. Animation is, of course, a part of cinema, but unlike live-action movies, animation is inherently non-referential and can therefore go in different and more creative directions than more conventional filmmaking will allow. Animation does not pretend to be reality, but rather offers a highly conscious alternative to reality. Maybe that's what it is. An alternative to reality that feels so much like reality, but at the same time we are consciously aware that it isn't reality.
Say what?
Pyscho-Pass offers a grim future that, when taken into consideration, isn't too unrealistic, but there are aspects of it that constantly remind us that it's completely fictional. Likewise, Audition presents us with a narrative that embodies mental sickness. However, there are several moments that once again remind us that this is a movie and nothing more. The violence is insanely appealing, and believe me, I'm just as freaked out about saying that as you are. But the truth of the matter is, it's completely marketable, and both Audition and Pyscho-Pass are two perfect examples of a plethora that have successfully reached out to a wider audience. Oh, and on the topic of what is and isn't art, I guess it goes hand in hand with the idea of the cool. If it's called art, doesn't that make it the opposite? I know one thing for sure though. Art is art because we say it is. I like some things, someone else will like other things. But the point is that art is completely subjective.